Welcome back to Interview At, where we teach you how to use the Amazon leadership principles to land your dream job. And this week, what we have is a business analyst targeting a job at Tesla. A couple other companies, but Tesla was the big name company on their list. And the leadership principle that we're covering today is dive deep. And a little bit of a departure this week. This is a interviewer who completely blew it. And we're going to walk through what happens when you have a complete brain seize in the middle of an interview and what you could have done about it. So let's just jump right into it, see what happened, and we'll go from there.
So much of, looking at the job functions that the JDs you had sent me, depth analysis was very much a part of kind of what's required. And so one of the hallmarks, and this as an engineering student of kind of analysis, is sometimes having to link two or more problems together to correctly identify an underlying singular issue, right? So you have two different seemingly disparate problems, but it turns out there's one underlying singular issue. So give me some example from work or, whatever you have to pull it from, where you had two problems, but really what you identified was there was an underlying singular problem. First, just tell me what it was, and then I'll ask the follow-on questions. And it could be two or more. It doesn't have to be exactly two, but just what I'm looking for is more than one thing was symptomatic of a singular underlying thing.
Yeah, it's a good question. Let me take a couple of seconds here. Let me just think about some examples. Yeah,
no problem.
First things first. Some of you may think that his asking to take a minute or two is part of the fail. Totally not part of the fail. Absolutely okay to take a moment, collect your thoughts, make some notes, scroll them down. Totally okay. Do it as often as you can or need to. Collect yourself, center yourself, get ready to make your answer. That's not a problem at all.
I'm trying to think of a good example here. Nothing is coming to mind right now.
So that's the first part. Talking through your answer, good. Sharing what's on your mind, good with the interviewer. Saying nothing's coming to mind, not your best plan, right? Because what that's really doing is putting you into a box. And how do you get out of that box? What do you do to get out of that box? Because it's like, well, I can't think of anything. Oh, wait, no, there's that one thing. Yikes. If it didn't come to you straight away, if you weren't prepared, which this candidate clearly wasn't for this kind of a question, saying I don't have anything and then trying to talk you out of that box, it's going to come across as more kind of, frankly, BS than anything else. So he's already put himself into a box by saying I can't come up with anything. That's really, really hard to get out of. But let's see what he does from here.
Can I get back to you on this? I don't have anything.
Definitely
And that's really not how you do it. Can I get back to you on this? Yikes. Yikes. Yikes, 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 yikes. No. Can I get back to you on that? You can't do that in an interview. No, you can't do that in an interview. And I'm going to hit play again here in a second to show you how I, as an interviewer, reacted to this, how you would expect an interviewer to kind of answer this sort of thing. But then I kind of switch hats. But I just, let's let that play for a second.
Or we'll call this a more advanced question for sure. And it's fine in this case to not have an answer. It's totally fine. We can skip this whole question block.
Yeah, no, I thought I had a different answer, but I clearly just jumped right into it. And so let's talk about what happened there. Because one, I've been asked this question before, right? Is it okay for me to say I don't want to answer that question in an interview? There is no other answer other than, no, that's not okay. No, 100% not okay. You need to answer every question that you've been asked. Whether or not you have a great answer, different problem. But saying I don't want to answer that question or I don't have an answer, you're basically automatically disqualifying yourself for the job. Now, there might be some hiring managers who say, well, it's not that big a deal, blah, 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 blah. That may happen. But why even put that out there as a possible disqualification outcome, right? Why would you even create that situation for yourself? So don't ever do that. Two, this specific question, it's important because it does a couple things. One, the target company that the candidate was going after, Tesla, was the big name kind of company. And Tesla, Microsoft, Facebook, all these big tech companies, they are looking for the best thinkers. They are looking for the smartest people. They are looking for the best talent, right? This is a question designed to determine who can really work in that kind of an environment, right? Who can connect multiple disparate items, connect them together, and make smart decisions? Who is a non-linear thinker? This candidate was light on experience, and I knew that, which is why I set the question up intentionally to kind of gauge where they were relative to their aspirations for the role. And this sort of question really is a separator, right? Because if you've never been in that environment where you have to go several layers deep, or you have to kind of pull together multiple data sources and really think in a nonlinear way to think about the bigger solutions, it's going to shine through in the interviewers with the companies that are practiced, seasoned at getting the best talent. They know what questions to ask. They know how to run their interviews generally to get the best talent, to identify who can work here, who can do the job, and who can be successful in this environment. And this candidate categorically, undeniably failed for Dive Deep, right? Just didn't get there. Started badly by painting himself into a box by saying, gosh, nothing's coming to mind, right? So that's already setting himself up for failure, which is anything that comes after that is you're basically making it up or you don't really believe what you're selling. But then saying, can I come back to you or can I answer this later? You've now dug the hole. Like, he's gotten to the bottom of the hole and he's kept digging. Now, let me be very clear. This is why we do mock interviews. This is why you should do mock interviews, right? Because if you get tripped up like that, it highlights where you have holes in your preparation. And we had a very, very productive follow-up conversation. Extremely productive follow-up conversation to help him rethink how he was doing his story development. And story development, turns out, is one of the biggest issues that I see over and over again. I get asked all the time, how do I construct my stories? How do I construct my narrative? How do I pull stories together? And the two best answers, or like the easiest answers, are one, obviously your resume is the best target zone for just pulling stories off, because that's obviously the stuff that you thought was important enough to write down. I would link into that as well, any performance reviews, because that's going to highlight all the stuff kind of you've done over the years. So that's important. And then two, how do you format it? Well, I mean, look, Amazon uses the star format. Many companies use the star format. If you're unfamiliar with the star format, do a search on YouTube. I don't have a video for it, but Jeff Sipe, really smart guy, he's got a good one. There's a bunch of others that talk about the star format, but it's situation, task, action, result, right? Structure your story in those columns and you'll be mostly fine, right? Because you've got a good narrative structure and it helps the interviewer evaluate what you're saying. So this was a kind of unique and different video where I wanted to cover a candidate who went off the rails and didn't do a great job. And again, it's totally fine. It's okay. That's why we do mock interviews. And if you'd like your free interview, you can sign up for a mock interview at interviewatt.com. As well as new release that we made available in the last week, a little bit of a soft launch. We have our content library now available, which is we've been breaking down all of the interviews, breaking them down by leadership principle and role type, posting all of the videos, obscured, of course, so you can't tell who the people are, but all of the videos are now posted. You can purchase access to the content library, and each video has all of the notes that I take during these interviews, as well as the assessment that was read into the room or would have been read into the room for the candidate by leadership principle. So a great learning tool if you learn by example, and would love to see. At this point, we now have well over 100 hours of content available for you to view. So that's it this week for our mock interview session. If you liked it, go ahead and like it down below. If you have any questions that you'd like to see covered, any specific leadership principles that you'd like to see, or even roles, just leave a comment down below, and we'll talk again next week.